Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am super excited today because I have with us NNA's favorite employee, Nicola Jackson.
Hi,
Nicola, how are you today?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for stopping in here on our 9F Fireside Chat. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and we just had a little conversation about conference coming up, and that's a good segue here. So, for anyone out there listening, I want to make sure that we're very clear this is not a promotion for the NNA conference, but I will put this out there. I love conference and I love to go. And I want to talk to Nicole today about why going to conferences, like what's the importance of this? It's just, I know people say this, it's a money grab, right? The NNA, all of these other industries have conferences. It's just to get people there to pay the exorbitant conference fees and the hotel fees. But that's not really true, right?
I mean, no. Yes, it's an expense, but it's also an investment in yourself, your business, whatever you're trying to do. And it's the fact that you have all these people in one place that do what you do that can give insight to that. So the motto of conference is kind of the place where the notary community meets. And all these people that you see online every day, they're all there in one spot. So you get to go and hear them in real life, talk the talk and walk the walk. But also, the people in the audience are giving their insight too. And here's what I do. And you just learn so much. And it's people who speak your language because let's be honest, this is so specific. So when you're surrounded by people and talking about your woes, it's one thing when you're telling kind of your friends that have their regular jobs, like what your woes are and they don't relate. And then having a group of people where you're explaining frustrations and I wish I could fix this and I wish I could fix that, that are like, you know what I do? And they're like offering that insight where you're like, oh, you do know what I'm talking about.
I love that you said that. I love it because I'll say this all the time. My family, if you ask them, they'll be like, oh, she's a notary, she does closings. But outside of that, I mean, that's the standard response, right? They don't really know. So when I go home and complain about something, they're empathetic because I'm complaining about it, but they don't really get what it is that I'm talking about, right? So it's
Nope.
nice to have someone in your industry who actually does and can truly empathize and be like, oh, I hate when that happens, right? Misery does
Mhm.
love company.
For sure. Like nobody gets a printer woe more than another person that, yes, your printer at work doesn't, your 9 to 5 doesn't work. You call the IT person, like someone's coming to fix it. Like you're all of that, right? If the printer isn't working and that time crunch and that anxiety, like they are truly feeling that in that moment. But yeah, just having everybody in one spot is so important and also getting celebrated, right? Like you're surrounded by people that are excited to celebrate you and appreciate what you're doing and professionalizing the industry and bringing it more. Like it's just being in that it's a special environment. And you meet some really great people that you now look forward to seeing every single year. I mean, that's how I met you, right? Like, and
I know.
now every year it's like the highlight of like, oh, I'm gonna get to see all my folks.
It's true. So my first NNA conference was 2015. And
Okay.
I was a conference person before that in my other spaces. So I want to go back a minute for the expense piece because I'll be honest and say, like, yeah, it can be expensive. The NNA conference is one of the cheaper conferences that I've been to. I have paid thousands and thousands of dollars to go to conferences. So I want to make that clear if you're in any other industry, and most industries have a conference, it's not cheap to attend. So what's nice about the NNA too is there's the early bird and there are payment plans. And I know a lot of notaries will share hotel rooms or travel if they're close by and can drive. So the nice thing about the notary community is everyone kind of bands together to do all of that. So that's important to remember as well, is that a whole year in advance when the conference is going to be. That allows you time to budget, put some money together, carve out that time like you would a vacation. I am
Mhm.
with you. It's hard to say I'm not going to work for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and that's tough. But I always have to tack on an extra day before or after, and then I call it a mini vacation, right? Because I don't really vacation. So it's nice to go to those things. And this year it's in Vegas. So hopefully we can catch a show or do something exciting like that. So that's kind of cool. As for people, I love that you brought that up. Some of my best notary friends are people that I have met in conference. Michelle
Yeah.
Riley and I did a talk the other day, and I said to her, like, I love her. I talk to her almost every single week. I have for years. I met her at conference. I would have never met her otherwise. And while she's in another state, Alabama, it's still, we're still a notary community. So maybe it's not New York State specific stuff necessarily that she can help me with. It's the whole idea of, hey, I met this other person who's a notary and who knows things and can help me, and we can have a conversation and someone to bounce ideas on. And so for you, even though you talk to notaries all the time because you're the NNA, it's a different experience, right? When you're a
Oh,
conference,
yeah.
because it takes away, we talked about this a little, like sometimes when you're in your own community, notaries feel like they're competition. But in a setting like conference, I've never felt anyone feel or say that to be the case, right? Everyone's so open and helpful and
It's
wants to
incredible.
engage.
Well, and it's when I first started with all of this, that was the mentality of a lot of people that came into this, with showing up and kind of looking at everybody from the sidelines. And I don't know what happened, but like suddenly just the floodgates opened and everyone decided to share ideas and things. And what I've heard is a lot of people who like found their backup notary from their area and talked about banding together to have, the backup of somebody that they know is now pursuing further education, professionally advancing themselves and developing themselves. And then going, hey, when I do want to go on my vacation, can I call you, or I can't do this, and creating that network for themselves. And that actually even helped expand everything. So going in with that competition mentality, it just serves no purpose. But even being there, you kind of learn that and hear that, and it gives you perspectives you probably never even thought of. So, but you're absolutely right. And then hearing people in other states, they have the same woes. They're pretty much the same. And then, just getting an idea, knowing the pulse of what's going on nationwide. And not
Mhm.
everybody gets to experience that. So I think it's
It's
really
true.
important.
It's so cool to hear what other states are doing or the
Mhm.
legislation or how they do things, right? I just was doing a RIN project, and it was interesting to hear how each state was the ones that do it, how it was handled in each place. So I love that. Um, let's talk about like the education piece though, right? So we talk about the people, the other notaries, which I love, and that is my favorite part of conference. I'm not gonna lie, seeing all of my notary besties, talking to all the people that I don't get to see, like really conversing with them in a space that's not on Zoom. But what about education? Like I come away every year from conference with like one light bulb moment, I call them, where I was like, oh, blown away that someone else was doing this, or I heard about this, or I did that. Everyone will hear me say, Professor Michael Clausen is my notary crush, right? I used to love, he was like my favorite presenter. Love him. Still talk to him to this day. He's got an amazing book out. You can buy it for NNA. That is a shameless plug for me. I love him. I think he's great. But let's talk about how is look for the NNA. How do you decide what presentations, like what the education piece looks like? How does that even get decided on your side?
Well, it's actually a process I just went through. So we get submissions from people throughout the year on our website. And then I kind of just let the content dictate what the, workshops are going to be about and what people are submitting. But I also, look at stuff that I see on social media and the questions that people are asking and like what people really want to know about. Um, and then just stuff that like interests me, right? Or new stuff we've never talked about before, because everybody wants to do a submission like, oh, I want to talk about networking, but what about it? And stuff like developing an elevator pitch, or getting over, how like going up to somebody and what are you going to say, and having that ready, because for the longest time it just didn't occur to me to do that. And then um, you know, catering to different groups. that you may have not have thought about. And of course, diversification is a huge thing. So this year in particular, we looked for a lot of different ways to add services to your business that aren't a big heavy lift, or just getting more information on how to do it. So we're bringing in people that have really taken the time to like develop programs, and they may have their own training programs about these specialties that everyone's doing, or just like a specific type of transaction that may seem intimidating if you don't have information about it, because you don't want to make the mistake and kind of put yourself out of the game for um like being able to do it, right? So that's been a big one. And then just also anything unique. We got some really like interesting ideas, and sometimes we can go down the path and sometimes we can't, but I'm also trying to assemble some really interesting panels and to have discussions. And then that's when the audience comes in. But hearing what everyone's saying, that not only like do I come away with somebody gave me a like mind blown moment, but also just hearing all the discussion gives me ideas too, of like stuff that we want to try, or what about this? And um it just sparks really good conversations. And then you have those conversations with people like sitting at the bar, let's be honest. And then that sparks even more ideas. So it's a good mix of like networking, education, and just fun. It's also fun, which is shocking. You would not think a group of that many notaries would be fun, but they really are.
But it is. The panels are great because, like you just said, it sparks conversation, but more importantly, it gives you another perspective.
Mm.
Another favorite mine of walking away from conferences, I'll walk in there sometimes just like I've been doing this for a long time, right? I know the things. And then someone will say something and I'll say to myself, oh, like, I didn't think about it from that perspective, right? So that's what I love about this too, is that sometimes, and we're all guilty of this, we go along every single day, we do our same thing, right, for the most part. Not that we think we know everything, but we're comfortable in our job, right, in our career, and all the ways. Conference sometimes will knock you out of that comfort place and say, hey, what about this, right? And then you're like, oh my gosh, that's great. Also, I love that you talked about, these people have already done the thing, right? They've brought in a new service, they have a training course, they emulate this, whatever this opportunity is, every single day. You don't have to recreate the wheel then, right? So I am out here and I want to try a new service. The nice thing about going to conference is that they give me the roadmap to do that on my own. I still have to put the work in, but I don't have to build it from the ground up. And I know sometimes people are like, that's sort of a cheat or whatever, but listen, we're all busy. Like the more we can help one another, the better. So if you can provide me a roadmap or a training that can get me from point A to point B quicker to be successful than my trying to figure out on my own, I'm all for that. There's no reason why we can't do all of that, right?
Marcy, I mean, look about it's more about too, like you've marketed to all your regular people, you put it out there and you're not getting calls. You've got to try something else, right? So at least it's giving you a new avenue of who to market to and to try something else, because you've done the regular, like what you know. So if you're sitting there like in a rut, then maybe this is the jump start that you need, right? Or things are not, happening the way that you do. It'll literally at least give you a new road to go down. Like, oh, I haven't tried that yet, so let me try that. Um, Especially too, there's going to be a lot of AI talk, right? Because Chat GPT has really like revolutionized what you can do, and it's supposed to be this great time saver. But if you don't know what it's capable of, even getting that insight, it's just somebody giving you things to jog your own mind, right? So I know like everyone jokes about like the robots taking over, but I have to tell you, like the things that I've seen that Chat GPT can accomplish that would take me hours to do,
Hours.
just and it's not replacing my brain. I still got to go in when it's done and make it mine, but it's just, oh my God, like the letter writing and the writing and the stuff, to put stuff together. Um, it's insane. So I just, even having that, someone saying, have you tried this? Have you tried that? It's super helpful to just get my own mind going.
Yeah, the tools to help you,
the
right?
tools.
I always laugh because I'll go to a closing with an attorney who's, 125 years old, and he's got, a fax machine and typewriter. And I'm like, do you have email? No, I don't use that, new technology here. And I always laugh. But that's no different really than us not utilizing the new tools that are out there, right? I'm a huge AI fan with caution. I mean, I certainly see what could be problematic in the AI space, especially when you're not double checking or verifying sources. And certainly, AI will be used for nefarious purposes. We're already seeing some of that with like the taking over of how you speak and the
Oh
hologram
yeah.
stuff and all of that, which still is super intriguing. But that's the next best thing about conference too, right? Is that you may not know how to incorporate these things into your business. And it's not as simple as just saying to ChatGPT, hey, can you write me a letter? You need to know the proper prompts and how to get that information. And it's nice to talk to other notaries who may have used it. Like, what did you use in that place, right? Because now you can do all kinds of things. It can cold call for you, right?
Yep.
It can write all of your scripts. It can design your flyer or logo. It can build a template for you. You can ask it what are the best places or people to market to, and it'll spit out these lists that would take you hours and hours to do on Google if you did it before. There's certainly an element to saving time in there, right? We're talking last year about interns. I said every year I hire an intern from college, and a lot of them are free, right? They get college credit. Hire a marketing intern, right? It helps them get some real world education. You're a individual, you're a small business owner, you can't afford someone, get someone else to come in and help you do those things. Those things wouldn't be things I would normally think of necessarily on my own. But going to conference, you get that from everyone else. How do I make my business, easier? How do I get things done? There's only one of us, right? Most of us, we're jack of all trades. Sometimes it's not that much fun being there. So conference lends us that opportunity to learn about all of those things. Now, let's also talk about the fun piece, because I certainly want to make sure we talk about that. People think, oh, we're there all day long and there's no fun. Fun, we have so much fun, right? There's lots of
Mhm.
downtime in between. There's downtime at night. Sometimes there are excursions that get planned, right? We have all the fun things going on. So it's not just education, education, education. We do have a good time. And we have the gala, which is so much fun.
Yes, and the newest element in the last couple of years is having a location celebration where afterwards, where we have a little dance party where we celebrate where we're going the next year, because that's like the big, secret is where is it? Um, so yeah, there is some fun, but there's a networking mixer where you kind of do like, icebreakers, which are not my favorite, but do get you started talking to everybody. Because I'm a very introverted extrovert, but sorry, that makes
I
me laugh.
sign off on a lot of people. I don't run around and get all the answers, but I have my pen at the ready and I'm always able to sign off on somebody.
Yeah, it's
Last
like
year
find a
was,
notary who did
yeah,
this and who did that.
find
Yeah.
somebody who has red shoes. And
Yes.
Mike was sitting next to me and I'm like, your shoes are not red. He's like, well, they're like a burgundy, Marcy. Like they're called, I don't know, Bordeaux or something. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. So he signed off on everybody wearing red shoes. But it's so fun because you get to meet, like I said, it's an easy meet to people. Even if you're introverted, which I know people will not believe that about me, but really I am. I'm totally happy to be
No, that's what I'm
inside.
saying. Me
Yeah,
too.
I'm totally happy to be inside by myself with a good book and not talk to anybody for weeks on end. But in those situations, what I like about conference too is you never feel silly or embarrassed or
No.
self-conscious just walking up and talking to somebody. Everyone's got a name tag. You say where they're from, right? I always say there's always, I live in, Western New York. There's always a Western New York connection. People are like, oh, I have an uncle, brother, I came from there, kind of thing. So it's so fun to be able to be comfortable, right? In that sort of, there are like 500 notaries, but it always feels so much more intimate than that. And I can't explain it any better than like people want to talk to you, right? I'll sit at a
Right.
table where I don't know anyone,
And you
and
have
then
an
half an hour
automatic
later,
commonality too, right? So
yeah,
you have something to talk about.
it's so fun. So why should people come to conference? We talk about all the reasons, but if someone said to you, just whittle it down to one thing, right? And I'll say this, it doesn't have to even be the NNA conference. Last year, for the first time, I went to Maryland Notary Public Day. Tremendous. I love Miss Elaine and Miss Wanda. Again, two of my most favorite people that I would have never met had I not gone to the NNA conference. And that, I
Right.
think, I should probably go back to this. You know, that's an offshoot too of doing these large conferences. Lots of people do smaller regionals that are closer
Yep.
to you, that are inexpensive, that still provide top dollar value, right, for what you're doing. So the nice thing about doing the NA conference is that I get to meet all these people who do little things in their areas, which is how I end up, like I said, going to Maryland Notary Public Day, which is tremendous, and I love her. If you have an opportunity ever to go out there, it's so much fun. Her fashion show is the best.
The best.
The best. But what really does it all boil down to? Okay, so we know all it's fun and we get a lot of education. We're going to make the expense, and I have payment plans. But really, what does it boil down to? Why should we go to a conference?
I'm going to say the people. So, because with the people comes the networking and the education. So, if you do nothing else but just go and talk to other people, I feel like that's where the value is. And, the speakers that are going to come who are volunteering their time to go, bringing and just having all those and the people all in one space. You're never going to assemble that group of, they're like the notary avengers. Okay, I'm going super nerdy on this, but like literally it's all of like the greatest superheroes in the notary world in one space, and I don't know that you would get that anywhere else.
So what's cool too is that everyone out there, if you're thinking about, hey, maybe you want to do a little semi-conference type of thing in your area. Nicola and I were just talking. She was just in Seattle, right, for someone else's,
Yep.
and she'll be at Maryland Notary Public Day. So it's
I
not a stretch for me to say, should you want to put something on in your area, you might get NNA's favorite employee to come out and talk there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I
See,
mean, there's a spot on the website for sponsorship opportunities, and it may not just be cash directly, but somebody from the NNA can come out and, speak. I've sat down with people who want to throw events and told them these are all the things you need to think about, just from my experience of throwing the NNA's conference and all the different factors that go into it that people don't know. So there's like so many levels of help that the NNA will offer to help you put that together, because honestly, just getting a group together, maybe it starts meeting at a coffee shop, and then Elaine's first notary public day is not the grandiose production that it was
yeah, right.
before. So it's like whatever level um that it's going to be. I mean, I know there's some people that just go and have a meetup at a restaurant, and say we're going to go to this restaurant and then we're all just going to have notary chat, and however it is, getting the groups together is important, especially community wise, because then you can all talk about the different things that are going on in the area, and then bring that to the masses when you come, on a bigger scale. So I do think it's important just to get together with like-minded people, for nothing else than just knowing like you're not insane, because this is such a specific business.
So niche.
It is. So it's nice to just like talk to people that aren't just like, yeah, I know that must be frustrating. Like they actually like feel it in their bones.
True. And I will say this too, because I think this is important. You get to meet people from the NNA, and I think that that's something that we shouldn't overlook. So I'm about to, uh, Nicola's not paying me to say this, but like I have developed relationships with people from the NNA who have really helped me in so many ways here. Bill and Brooke actually just jumped on a call with me with the Bar Association here to talk about journal requirements, right?
Yep.
They I have never sent an email to Bill where he hasn't been just so like, hey, Marcy, and helped me in any way that I can. That is a tremendous resource when you're in your state trying to do things. I'm not saying stop what you're doing, everyone email every NNA person, but I am saying if you're really looking to do something in your state to make headway in some way, right? The NNA is there to help support you in some of these things, and actually meeting the people behind the scenes when you go there, because it's not just them, but like you meet all the NNA people that you hear about sometimes, and they chit chat, they got their red shirts on, you know who they are. that is a tremendous resource that should not be downplayed here, right? I know people will be like, oh, well, the NNA doesn't advocate for me, doesn't support me. Okay, well, go to the conference and talk to them about that, right? You can have a one-on-one conversation with the largest notary organization in the country. That is something that I think, you can't put a dollar amount on, right?
Absolutely. And I think that it also helps dispel the myth of like the big, you say the largest notary corporation or company, because and it like creates this big like shallow unfriendly
Yeah.
corporation kind of thing. But like you can have a conversation, go up to the CEO and talk to him and talk shop, and he's so approachable. But like you get to actually see how much every person that works for the NNA cares about the community, because they really truly do. And I think you actually get to feel that and know that it's not the big bad wolf that I think sometimes people get the impression. You get to see the people behind the scenes and see how much that they truly care. Um, and give your woes, you know what I mean, in person. So, and get an ear. So I think that that's important, because I
And get
know.
answers to your questions, right? Sometimes you have, last year there was question was like, how come we don't get the magazine anymore? Poor Tom got blindsided by us. We were like, how come there's no magazine getting mailed out anymore? And
Right,
he was
it
like,
all went digital, right?
yes, but I mean, it's so funny to talk about it, but it was a conversation that we've had like the last couple of years. I finally was like, let's just go ask him. Like, let's just ask. And, it was funny. It was a conversation. He was totally open to talking to us about it. But that you make good point. Like we hear, right? When you get to a certain level and you have a certain amount of, I don't want to say popular, it's not the word, but when you're recognized in that space, it becomes a matter of, well, they don't care about me, or no one really, that's not what they're here for. Or but you go to this conference and like everybody wants to chit chat with you and they're happy to hear it. And I know we've talked about things in the past where they've been implemented or taken under consideration. And that's amazing to think again, like the NNA, hey, took what I had to say into account, and we love that.
Absolutely. No, and it's important. We want to hear. I mean, that is one of the reasons that the conference even happens, is to gather everyone and not just tell you what's going on, but also hear for ourselves, what's the pulse and what is everybody feeling and what changes need to be made, and, how can we support that? So that to me is the importance of NNA doing like notaries work out there, is to make sure that they are getting heard, to tell the people that we work with in the bigger industry, like, hey, this is the word on the street. So it's important that we have everyone there to get that feedback.
Well, if you're listening to this, shameless plug for a conference, whether it's the NNA conference or something local to you. I cannot stress enough just the idea of community, right? It really goes beyond all the things. Education is certainly important. All of that is critical, but just having a sense of community really does bring something to you in your business, and I can't recommend that enough. I will be at conference this year, though, in Vegas in June. So if you're looking for a fun vacation or a good place, we were at Vegas in, I don't remember what year, 2000.
2022.
All right. And this resort is so nice. Everyone in the group was like, hey, we love this place. It really was. It's so
And
nice.
it's off the strip too. So you're not like smack in the middle. So it's like a
Mhm.
nice little distraction kind of tucked away. But you can do all the Vegas things on the property, but also without getting like sucked into the Vegas vortex.
Yes, but it wasn't too far.
It's not.
We went onto the strip for dinner one night and it wasn't terrible at all. It was an easy commute. So if you're thinking about it, if you're interested, I highly recommend that you take a look. You can go on the NNA's website and there's a link there. We have a Facebook group that Michelle Riley runs, the NNA conference.
Conference attendees networking group, I think it's
There you
called.
go. I couldn't remember the whole thing, but join there. You get to meet a lot of people who are going and talk to them. You can reach out to me if you want. You can reach out to the NNA, call the hotline and talk to somebody, I suppose, if you wanted to. Take a look. And if you can't do it this year, next year, right? It's
Yep.
pretty much the same time every single year.
Yeah, it
Uh,
fluctuates between May and June. We go back and forth.
I feel like it was only in May once, but am I wrong in saying that? Maybe I'm terrible at dates and things like that. It fell on my birthday for like a few years in a row, I think, if I remember correctly, in June.
Yeah, it just depends where we're going, to be honest, about whether it's in May or in June. But the other thing too I want to add is if you are wanting to do the payment plans, those end in December. So if you are on the fence, you got to start the payment plan before um December. So make sure that if you do sign up, that you get it done. And we have really good cancellation policies too. So they're pretty generous. So if you do decide and things happen and you change your mind, we're pretty flexible with the cancellation too.
And like I said, if you join the Facebook group, lots of people will post in there they're looking for roommates or someone to share the expenses or need a ride. Last year, somebody who was an Arizona resident actually picked up like tons and tons of notaries from the airport and brought them
That's
because there
true.
wasn't. Yeah, so it's so fun. I know you're like, that's not true, but I'm telling you, she was like a human taxi, back and forth for like
Right.
2 days, bringing people. So there's always help and resources in there. Please don't think that there aren't. There are. Nicola, I love that you took time out of your day to come talk to me. Thank you so, so, so much. I really appreciate you and everything that you do for the notary community.
No, thank you so much. Of course. I mean, that is why I'm your favorite NNA employee, first of
My
all.
favorite. Don't tell anybody.
Oh yeah, that's okay. They know. I tell them all that I'm your favorite NNA employee.
We've
But
seen the
yeah,
videos.
I thank you for your contributions as well. And I hope that everybody will come to conference at least once. Because I think it's truly a remarkable experience. But even if you just go to a conference for that professional development, it makes all the difference.
You might still see us at another conference too. You never know. I can't go to Maryland this year, but definitely next year. So you never know where you'll see us. And Nicola does the round too. So you might see her at someone else's conference that's
I'll
local
be
to
in
you.
Maryland next week, so I
Yes,
will
she'll
I
be
will
in
be in
Maryland.
Maryland.
If you're close to Maryland, it's not too much of a drive for you. I highly recommend that you go out there. It's a good time. Thank you,
Absolutely.
everyone, so much. I appreciate you joining us today, and I will see you at all somewhere down the road at a notary conference. Have a great day.